It feels like our world never really powers down anymore, does it? And our brains are definitely the ones footing the bill. I mean, from the second you wake up, it's just this constant barrage of notifications, deadlines, and breaking news. It's enough to leave anyone feeling completely fried.
Does this sound familiar? This feeling of being caught in a tug of war. On one side, you've got this immense pressure to be productive, to be achieving, to be doing something. And on the other, there's this nagging anxiety that if you look away for even a second, you'll miss something important. It's a tension that for so many of us really defines modern life.
And it turns out, this feeling isn't just in your head. We're actually caught between two huge, powerful forces. You've got hustle culture telling you to always be doing, and doom scrolling compelling you to always be knowing. So let's pull back the curtain and really break down what's going on here. All right, first up, let's talk about that pressure to achieve. This is the professional side of the trap, the side we call hustle culture.
So what is it really? Well, the core idea is pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It's this belief that your career isn't just a part of your life, it's the absolute most important part. Success is all about your output, and the only path to get there is through nonstop, relentless hard work.
And believe me, this isn't just some niche idea. It has become a global phenomenon. I mean, check out this Google Trends data. You can see searches for hustle culture just spiking all over the world, especially with millennials. Take a look at Indonesia, for example. Interest hit an absolute peak in late 2021. So yeah, this idea of glorifying overwork, it's a very real, very measurable trend.
And this philosophy gets pushed by some of the most influential people on the planet. This quote from Elon Musk just perfectly sums up the whole mindset. The idea that if you want to make a real impact, you have to be willing to sacrifice your personal time and grind way, way past the old 40-hour workweek.
But look, this relentless grind comes at a serious cost. The research is pretty clear on this. It directly links this lifestyle to major mental health struggles. We're talking increased anxiety, depression, and a work-life balance that's just gone. It's basically a superhighway to burnout, and it takes a huge toll on our health and our relationships.
Okay, so that's one side of the trap. Now, let's flip over to the other. Because when we're not hustling, many of us get caught in this other vicious cycle, one that's all about the need to stay informed. Let's talk about doom scrolling.
You know exactly what this feels like, right? You pick up your phone to check one tiny thing, and an hour later, you realize you've been sucked into a black hole of disaster headlines and political arguments. That's doom scrolling, this compulsive need to consume negative news, even when it's making you feel absolutely terrible.
So, why on earth do we do this to ourselves? Well, it actually boils down to how our brains are wired. We have this thing called a negativity bias. Back in the day, it was super useful. It helped our ancestors spot threats, like a predator hiding in the bushes. The problem is, today, that exact same survival instinct gets triggered by a crisis flashing on our screen, putting our brain on constant 24/7 high alert. And being on high alert all the time is, well, it's just not good for us. It absolutely wreaks havoc on our attention span, making it almost impossible to focus. It overloads our working memory, which is why you feel so mentally drained. It can even warp your perception of reality, making the world seem way more dangerous than it actually is, which just fuels this awful cycle of helplessness and anxiety.
So we've got these two incredibly draining forces, the pressure to do and the compulsion to know. But here's the most important part, the real takeaway. These are not separate problems. In fact, they're deeply, deeply connected. Hustle culture and doom scrolling are really just two different symptoms of the exact same illness, our modern, always-on environment. It's a world that demands we be constantly available, endlessly productive, and perfectly informed at all times. Okay, so here's the real insight. Both of these behaviors are actually flawed attempts to get a sense of control in a world that feels, well, pretty out of control. With hustle culture, we're seeking control through relentless doing. The thinking is, if I just work harder, I'll be secure. With doom scrolling, we're seeking control through relentless knowing. If I just stay informed about every threat, I'll be prepared.
But here's the thing. Neither one actually works. Instead, both of them just completely overload our brains, emotionally and cognitively. They might seem like different roads, but they both lead to the exact same destination, total and complete burnout.
So if it's one unified problem, then the solution has to be unified too. Now, I know this all sounds a little bleak, but there is some really good news here. We can absolutely fight back, and we can reclaim our balance and our focus. Let's get into how to do it. Step 1 is all about setting intentional boundaries. You have to build some walls. So start by actually scheduling specific, short time slots to check news and work emails. Then go through your social media and just mute those accounts that are designed to make you angry or afraid. And instead of just skimming those reactive headlines, try to read a full article. And maybe the most important one, fiercely protect your personal time. When you're off the clock, you are off the clock.
Okay, step 2, we have to swap out that passive anxiety for some positive action. Make it a point to balance all that negative content. Actively search for uplifting stories, or just call a friend. If a news story really gets under your skin and makes you feel helpless, find one small real-world thing you can do. Donate $5, sign a petition, whatever. And use your off hours for things that actually recharge you, and, this is key, allow yourself to rest without feeling guilty about it. Rest isn't a prize, it's a requirement.
Look, both hustle culture and doom scrolling promise to give you control, but all they really deliver is chaos. True control doesn't come from doing more or knowing more. It comes from being intentional with the most valuable thing you have, your attention. So the question I want to leave you with is this: what is the one thing you'll do this week to start reclaiming your focus?